Well, words cannot capture how excited we are at ET now to have Mr. Aditya Puri on the channel. The more I say about him, the less it is. Under his leadership, he's managed to really create a magic in the Indian banking sector and has taken HDFC Bank from an unknown brand to an unforgettable brand. HDFC Bank today is India's most valuable brand, and it has given absolutely astonishing returns to shareholders. And in last 25 years, just hear me, HDFC Bank is up 300x. So let's talk to the man who has really created magic in the Indian banking sector, Mr. Aditya Puri. Mr. Puri, fantastic to have you on ET Now. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Nikunj. I've always enjoyed my interviews with you.
Mr. Puri, we always, as journalists, like to take the clock forward. But since this is a special interview, allow me to take the clock back. And let me take the clock back to the first day of yours at HDFC Bank. Do you actually remember that day? And the day one when you walked into HDFC Bank, did you think that you would be able to create a master franchise like HDFC Bank?
Day one, there was no HDFC Bank. I walked into an office which was just starting to be renovated with a few chairs and some broken glass around. And then even for the next month or so, we really didn't have HDFC Bank. And we were sitting there and interviewing people and saying, if you want to join the best bank and an international standard bank, come and join us. And fortunately, we found a whole lot of people who wanted the vision that we had and believed in it and came to join us because they knew about their own capabilities. And we hired from across a broad spectrum, Bank of America, Citibank, Merrill Lynch, RBI, etc. But we hired for people who believed that we could take a risk and create or actually realize the opportunity, because what was happening is that the foreign banks had the product and the service. The local banks had the brand, distribution, and the money. We said if we can bring these two together and then go for scale, we should hit the right thing. So it's a long answer. Did we imagine it will be so big? Not initially, but within 5 years of starting, I think we were looking very big.
Mr. Puri, HDFC Bank has always followed a simple process. They have adopted simplicity and have always made customer experience better. These are simple things which HDFC Bank has done, yet the success what HDFC Bank has achieved versus what your peers have achieved, it's unreal. So what is that you've done so differently by doing the same thing again and again that you managed to create HDFC Bank as a franchise, India's most valuable bank?
See, ultimately, Nikunj, you hit the nail on the head. Our reason for our existence is to provide better service or better products to the customer and make their life easier. And as long as we meet that need, there is no reason why we wouldn't succeed. Also, what has happened during this time, the secular shift that has taken place in telecommunication, computing, artificial intelligence, social mobility, has given you the opportunity to change your business models in a manner that you can provide a more personalized product to the customer at a lower cost, delivered to him in a manner that he can find it convenient 24/7. So we did that. What most people didn't realize is, for instance, when you look at Amazon and you look at Google and you look at Facebook, they didn't change the tech world. They used what was available to come up with a better product offering at a cheaper price and revolutionize the whole thing. Now, people who sat back and said we have the brand and the distribution, but did not alter the product to meet the new reality, the Barnes and Nobles and the Nokias and the Borders, they were blown out of the water. So we have kept that philosophy. We believe that we are a living organization and we change every 3-4 years. And now we also did that. We went out And we had a look what they had done, and we said we can also do it. So we did two things. One is we moved from a banking experience, as you can now experience yourself, to a financial experience. By that, what we said is not only can you bank with us, you can get secure payment through us. You can also get better pricing on goods. You can get your loans. You can get your third-party products. You can buy and sell shares. You can pay your tax. All of this you can get in a frictionless manner at the click of a button. All of this you can get at a click of a button in a convenient manner. And we said we will deliver. Now, what did this do? Our original brand proposal remained, that was trust, transparency, and safety. But we were able to add salience, top of mind recall, because we changed the way people looked at financial services and a bank. We also were able to add trust because now the more digital you get, he gets your brand delivery time and time again. And we also looked at being a very good citizen because in the changed economic, geoeconomics and geopolitical situation, it's very important that you give back to society. And so when we did this, we figured 60% of India lives in semi-urban and rural India. We have to find a way to go there because that would create a middle class equivalent to the middle class we already had. The youngsters were going digital. We said we have to access them. There were sections that were not getting credit. The two-wheelers, the small businesses, the light commercial vehicles, parts of gold. We said we will go there and we will also develop products. And we still believe that India is an under-penetrated financial market. And so the road ahead, with all the strength that we build in, and that's why the whole bank believes that our best is yet to come.
Mr. Puri, before I get into specifics of HDFC Bank, the other hallmark for HDFC Bank has been that you've grown at a measured pace and your NPAs in any cycle has not been alarming. How did you resist the temptation of, let's say, not lending to the infrastructure sector in 2003 to 2004? How do you resist yourself on not going for growth, at least in the corporate sector? How have you managed that?
See, two things, Nikunj. We must understand that banks also have a fiduciary duty to fulfill. People deposit your money based on trust, and they expect to get their money back with interest. So banking is not a complicated business. Banking is very clearly, you define your target market, you see what products they need, you see how you can deliver them in the best possible way, and then you come to your risk reward. So that at the end, the way you price, it allows you to meet your costs, it allows you to meet the delinquency, and it allows you to give investors risk capital, and it allows you to give back to society through CSR. Now, if any of these, if any business doesn't meet this, then growing for the sake of growth doesn't help because you will not then have a healthy balance sheet. So we have always balanced our risk reward. We are very clear where we want to go. And if we don't get the risk reward which ensures safety of the bank and the depositors' money, we don't touch it, whether it is going down market and in retail, or whether it is infrastructure, or whether it is any product that's priced irrationally. We won't do it because it will not give us the end result that we want, and we stop it. Either we stop it, or like we had the opportunity to do, we have reduced our cost to income from almost 50% to about 36, 37%. And we think over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll bring this down by another 3 to 4%. Then you can have a situation where if you are better than the industry, you can price at the same level as the industry. They may not have enough returns to provide, which you can see over the last 2 quarters, but we have. And we followed that strictly. And the second thing is that it should be very clear that in this new world, it's not a hierarchy that it works. The chief executive is the first among equals. You have to have discussion. The team has to believe in it. And you have to deliver the bank at every touch point because people now are not willing to wait. They want delivery. And we've kept all this in mind. That is why we went to semi-urban and rural India. We went into digital. We moved from, in terms of our technology, from basic core system to processing and then APIs so that we can provide a better service in our partnership and to omni-channel delivery.
Mr. Puri, banks are always a proxy to the economic growth. Yes, please. Yes, Mr. Puri.
No, because this is the philosophy, you can see what happened in the last 2 quarters in our results. And I can tell you, all our depositors can be very sure when S&P says that even if there is a major issue with COVID, there will be no downgrading of HDFC Bank, because actually our rating that they've given us is constrained by the sovereign rating.
Mr. Puri, banks are ultimately a proxy to the economy. But if I look at the numbers, what you've reported for the quarter gone by, which came last weekend, HDFC Bank is back. You're firing full cylinders. Your line managers are saying business is back to normal. In fact, in some cases, it is back to almost pre-COVID levels. So how come there is such a disconnect? I know this is a year of disconnect, but for HDFC Bank, the disconnect, I think, is very obvious.
The disconnect, let me tell you where I'm coming from. एक तो ये हिंदी में बोलता हूँ थोड़ा सा, ये जो माहौल लोगों ने बनाया हुआ था मर गया was not warranted. So fundamentally, how is it that the car fellows are doing so well? How is it the two-wheelers did so well? How is it that the rural economy did well? Everybody said, "यो कुछ नहीं हुआ वहाँ." अरे किसी ने उसका फसल खरीदी होगी, किसी ने वहाँ पैसे खर्चे हैं, किसी ने रोड बनाई है जो डिमांड आ रही है. How come cement is doing well? How come steel is doing well? And then everybody said, अरे बैंक तो मर जाएगा, 70% moratorium, 70% NPA. ऐसे थोड़ा ना चलता है. The fact of the matter is, and I'm telling you again, we have not taken any unnecessary risks. We do believe that India is one of the best opportunities going forward. I think globally they're underestimating the change that will come in semi-urban and rural India. We are probably the best placed based on the digital initiative that the government has put in to really revamp our businesses and become competitive globally and improve our yield as well as put in better infrastructure. So I think I'm not saying everything is okay. Yes, there are portions of the country that are suffering. But I think the negative sentiment was overdone and is even overdone now.
Mr. Puri,
talk to my people.
You always have built a... Yes, please.
Bolo, Nikunj.
No, so Mr. Puri, will I be wrong if I say that in your interpretation, the pessimism was overdone and the economy is simply normalized? Will I be right in communicating that to our viewers as your take on the economy?
As our, not my take, as HDFC Banks take on the economy, absolutely, and our results show it, and so do the results of the other customers. You know, we also had a situation, how will the government finance the deficit? Deficit ye hoega, wo hoega, state ka ye ho jayega. Now they've announced another 1 lakh, whatever, 30,000 crores of additional borrowing. What was the movement in the yield? 3 basis points? And I think the governor has rightly looked through and the MPC has rightly looked through inflation because it's supply side and it's basically consequent to lockdown, vegetable and proteins and gold. But if you look through, it will normalize. They've also kept the liquidity. They've allowed HTM, they've got OMO, they've got LTRO. So itna rona kis baat ka bhai?
Mr. Puri, HDFC Bank has managed to gain market share, you managed to acquire customers, but that's because you're in a leadership position. What applies to you, you think that will apply to the rest of the economy as well?
देखो यार निकुंज, the fact of the matter is demand is there. Even if we are not people who are not in leadership, demand तो कुछ तो होगी, सारी demand तो हमने नहीं पकड़ ली, इतनी तो distribution है नहीं हमारी. But we did a lot of things right. And I think if they've not done it, they should. We went to semi-urban and rural India where 60% of the country lives. If you see the credit deposit ratio in the country, it's 130%. If you see it in semi-urban and rural India, it's 30%. Lending as a percentage of GDP there is hardly 5 or 7%. It should be at least 40%. You'll create a complete new middle class. We are banking on it. 50% of our distribution is there jointly with the government distribution company called CSE. We will set up over the next 6 to 9 months, 25,000 banking correspondents, and we have total of 3,000 branches there. So, and we will deliver digitally. So demand hai, you focus, identify it, put the hard work to get it.
Mr. Puri, you also identified 2 areas as the growth areas, something which I heard at the con call from some of your team members: infrastructure, healthcare. Semi-urban and urban you've already spoken about. Now, historically, HDFC Bank has shied away from the infra space, but do you think now things are looking up for the infra space and you would be lending there, and you would be lending there quite aggressively?
Nikunj, we never shied away from infrastructure. We shied away from infrastructure we didn't understand. तुम प्लांट लगा रहे हो, गैस सप्लाई नहीं है नहीं तुम्हारे पास, तो मैं कैसे लेंड करूं तुमको? कोल सप्लाई नहीं है तो कैसे लेंड करूं? तुमको ट्रिपल ए यील्ड चाहिए, and you got all these question marks. How do I lend? So now actually in the debt capital markets, we are number 1 in terms of financing. That is a major achievement. I think most people have not realized that we are number 1 in DCW. Debt capital market, DCP. We are also very clear, and the government has also changed the way they are structuring infrastructure projects. So in the structure, if you put in the proper risk parameters, you have the owner will pay on time, all approvals are there, you've got a good contractor, then you can do infrastructure, and that's what we are doing. So we are doing solar, we are doing roads, we are doing wherever he can show us that he's covered the performance risk, he's covered the promoter risk, he's covered the payment risk and the regulatory risk. And the more the government does in terms of structuring projects, I don't think there is any shortage of financing available, provided the project is structured as a viable entity. If you want to subsidize, then provide viability subsidy.
Mr. Puri, I've been wanting to ask you about this disruption in the banking sector. The first wave of disruption was when PSU banks, they lost market share to private banks. Do you think now the same wave of disruption could happen in the private banks, where 3, 4, 5 banks will get lion market share and the old guard, old private banks and the small PSU banks will actually struggle?
See, without getting specific, let me answer this in a little roundabout way. Whoever has not gone to semi-urban and rural India, whoever has not created digital, whoever has not created the product range, and whoever does not have liabilities will suffer. At the right price. So when you look at it, because we went to semi-urban and rural India, how did we get the last 2 quarter results? When first quarter, when we were there, we were sitting on approximately $6 billion of liquidity. So anybody who wanted to sell an asset at the right price, we bought. We also funded companies who wanted to shore up liquidity to cater for the transitory period of COVID. We also went and did a lot of funding to government employees because that's very safe. We lent to AAA. We did not stop our retail AAA salary. We continued to lend. We introduced new products. Our digital, we are hoping that it will almost account for 30% of our business. Say for everybody, but we do believe that, and you can see most of our growth has come from increased market share. We have positioned our distribution, our technology, and our products that we do plan to continue to grow at a disproportionate rate.
Mr. Puri, I remember we had a conversation in 2009 or 10 and you said, look, everything is going to go the digital way, the platform experience and the customer experience would be digital. It is 2020. Hypothetically, if you and me meet in 2025, what could be the shape of HDFC Bank in terms of a customer experience and in terms of adaptation?
See, as I told you, when you look at digital, and I had this discussion with Shantanu of Adobe. So when you look at it, everybody has a different connotation to what digital is. Digital is the following. Digital provides frictionless service and a good customer experience. And it utilizes the changes that have the secular shift that I talked about to change your business model, whether it is using artificial intelligence for credit, which is our 10-second loans across the lot, whether it is being able to deliver across multiple channels on a frictionless basis, 2 clicks, whether it is having more products, whether it is covering more geography. So I think those people who are able to provide the customer what he wants, i.e. frictionless service, a wide product range, convenience, trust, safety, and security over and above that. There was a Harvard business study, I think, that said that if the incumbents can come even to 90-95% of the product capability and the convenience that they're providing, then the trust and the brand will pay off. So I think we have positioned ourselves there. And everybody who wants to survive 5 years from now, 5 years, even 3 years, needs to have a relook at his business model and see where the demand is and where the products is. So if you are largely a corporate bank, as the money markets develop, etc., the yield will be low. And if your cost of funds is high and you're still in that business, then you got a problem.
For the banking sector and specifically for HDFC Bank, Mr. Puri, in an environment of low interest rates, do you think a NIM of 4% structurally is not going to sustain over a long period of time?
Why will it not sustain? Now, it will not sustain if we don't work very hard. Your question is correct, Nikunj. It will not sustain if we don't work very hard. We have more than doubled our customer acquisition rate. Large part of our deposit increase is coming in current and savings account CASA, which is low cost and consequently leads to our being able to maintain NIM. As I told you at the beginning of the interview, we actually, our balance sheet profile changed because our growth in the first 2 quarters largely came from AAA corporates with that pricing, and yet we were able to maintain margin. So I think between 4 and 4.3 is the range that we've always had, and I see no reason to alter that. And we're getting low-cost money from semi-urban and rural India. And even today, we are sitting on almost, $6-7 billion of excess liquidity, which we think as the economy recovers over a 6-7 month period, we will be able to use up.
In next 3 years, Mr. Puri, will any of your subsidiaries go public and will you be monetizing the investments of your subsidiaries?
You have to ask Jagdishan that question.
But I'm sure that must be part of your vision, sir.
No. Growing it, after that, अब वो क्या करेगा, कैसे करेंगे, it's between Mr. Jagdishan and the board, na?
Fair point. Mr. Puri, how would you defend concerns what shareholders have that HDFC Bank equals to Aditya Puri? What will happen to continuity? What will happen to leadership? Because to be frank and to be honest, you've made the difference.
Not necessarily true. Maybe that is our friends, Mr. Neeraj Jha and our PR people have been too active. I think Kamath put this very well, that in terms of when they said he was giving a small excerpt for my departure, with the people asked that, look, he has not quoted fame or position, but it has come to him consequent to the performance of HDFC Bank. Now, HDFC Bank, I hate to disappoint you, but HDFC Bank is not Mr. Puri. 1,20,000 people, if you think, are making money because Mr. Puri made the decisions. I frankly tell you, I don't make decisions. What I do is I sit down with the team, we set the vision, and we have tremendous arguments on that. And we never bet the bank. So we test it out. What works, we scale it up. So it's a wrong thing that, and actually in the digital world, if the CEO is where the decisions are concentrated, that company will fail. So we have processes, we have procedures, but we have expertise in every area. So if you think, I think you fellows were kind enough to give us the brand innovation and marketing. That came not because of Mr. Puri. I'm not the repertoire of all knowledge. That came because we had an excellent chief marketing officer and a lot of good MBAs who sat down and said, we will reposition, we will maintain our basic brand characteristics, but we will add salience and trust based on being able to provide them a changed experience in financial services, as well as far more convenience. Similarly, the semi-urban and rural was not my strategy. It was when Shashi and me went visiting somebody in Coorg, we told the branch manager, can you double? He said, if you give me the right functions, I'll more than double. So all he asked for was at one end of the town, he wanted a banking correspondent, and the other end, he wanted an ATM. So most of the things that have happened, I hate to disappoint you, but we have been running plain bread and butter banking. We are an execution story. India is an under-penetrated market. And so we've made the right decisions in going to the right places at the right time. The strategy, in fact, these fellows have been making me work till the last day. For the next 3 years, it is at least firmly in place. All the nuts and bolts are in place. And strategy and vision, unless it's bought by every man-jack in the organization, is a lump or whatever you want to call it. It's only when everybody marches forward. And you should see in the farewells that they're giving that everybody participates and they say, sir, we will take your legacy forward. We understand the strategy. I would strongly recommend you talk to a branch manager. If he doesn't give you the same story that I'm giving you, then you can ask me this question again. And as I had said very clearly, there was a team. We sat down. We said we need change. When I came back from Silicon Valley, we decided on the change together. We appointed Shashi as the change agent because 95% of change fails. It fails because the rank and file don't believe in it. It fails because you're going against enlightened self-interest. The fact that the team was able to bring this together. Yeah, Nikunj, मेरे को एक चीज बता, मैं 9 बजे दफ्तर जाता हूँ, 12:45 मेरे को मेरी बेगम बहुत अच्छा खाना खिलाती है, गरम फुल्का, सब्जी, दाल, लस्सी, प्याज, हरी मिर्च. उसके बाद मैं लंच खा के थोड़ा वो शमी कपूर का 10 मिनट के लिए सॉन्ग सुनता हूँ, फिर मैं वापस जाता हूँ. 5:15 बजे मैं घर आ जाता हूँ. तो कोई तो काम कर रहा होगा.
You're forgetting the part that you don't carry a mobile and you never take work home, and the bank works at night also.
That is fine. So they will continue to work, and nobody, it needs a very brave man to ring me up at home on work. And it needs a very brave man to bring a problem to me at 5 o'clock. That is the culture. The culture is that I'm a first among equals. And I would love to give you a 1-hour lecture on how when you move to a digital organization, actually you deliver the bank at every touch point. They want satisfaction, they're not कि मैं boss से पूछ के करता हूँ. 99% of our transactions don't require referral to anybody. So I am very confident. The team is very confident. I've never had such a poignant, emotional and fun farewell that I'm having online. And what is really helping me be very, very happy is they believe in Shashi, they believe in themselves, they've got the strategy, and they show me, sir, no problem, double karenge.
Everyone raised eyebrows when you sold your ESOP. Was it just a transaction? We should not read too much into it.
Which one? नहीं फिर बोल ना फिर sorry I didn't.
ESOPs of HDFC Bank.
हाँ उसका क्या हुआ?
No, I'm saying that when the news came out official that Mr. Aditya Puri has sold his ESOPs, it just appears that you want to cut your umbilical cord with HDFC Bank forever.
अरे वाह हीरो आदमी, तभी तू जर्नलिस्ट है और मैं बैंकर हूँ. अगर तू 70 साल का होता, would you have all your eggs in one basket and in equity? Answer me honestly. निकुंज चुप क्यों है? तू तो स्टॉक मार्केट एक्सपर्ट है.
It's very important in these uncertain times.
Would you have all your
asset allocation is very important, Mr. Puri. I always say this.
हाँ तो फिर क्यों पूछा तूने ऐसा क्वेश्चन? और 70 साल का हो गया और सब एक
No, I just wanted to hear your perspective maybe.
No, so this was actually part of this advisory was including Shashi and Abhay Aima कि बॉस तुम थोड़ा डाइवर्सिफाई करो. क्या करोगे बाद में? So I was actually thinking too much about the bank. They said, and an investment banker whose name I won't take. They said, think about it yourself. और मैं आगे भी बेचूंगा, इसमें क्या है? और umbilical cord करने, there are two sides to a coin, Nikunj. I don't want to be peering over Shashi's back. I don't think that's needed. For the last 2-3 months during COVID, now 85% he's been functioning on his own. And as of today, the team is functioning on its own. And my selling or buying shares has got nothing to do with what HDFC Bank does or umbilical cord. मैं तो आदमी हूँ, मेरे पास umbilical cord कहाँ से आ गई? निकुंज तेरे को देखा वो basic fundamental biology नहीं पता कि umbilical cord ladies का होता है.
Just a statement, sir. Nothing about biology here. So, what is your second innings plan? Listen to more Shami Kapoor music, go for a morning walk. I've seen you sometimes on Woli CFS in the morning walk. So, instead of a 1 hour, 30-minute walk, you'll go for a 1.5 hour walk now?
देखो, one thing is very clear that my wife is refusing to have me in the home for an extended period of time. तो कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा, golf शॉल भी खेलना पड़ेगा. But I'm not as if I'm hanging up my books. तो कुछ तो करेंगे. अभी देखो, it's unfolding. कुछ तो करेंगे, but I won't do anything where I have to take PC responsibility. So there are lots.
How soon can we hear about your new venture? Have you made up your mind?
Yes, you can hear about it in a month and a half.
Okay. Mr. Puri, when we look at the banking sector, I understand that there was a challenge between for PSU banks and private sector gain. But frankly, in last 10 years, private banks also have had challenges. So why is that Indian banking sector, and especially the private banking sector, also has gone through so much of up and down?
They shouldn't have. I don't know why. I can't answer that. But since you've asked one question, I do want to clarify. There have been some very learned people who have been talking about 10 and 11% NPA or मर गया Indian banking system. थोड़ा बहुत तो आपने भी बात की है, but I'm just giving you a thought. You may agree with it, you may not agree with it. That why do we talk about only the 10% and we don't talk about the 70% provision cover? Should we not be talking about only 3%? And that capital adequacy comes because you have got provision coverage. And in my mind, unlike in other countries where they have not lent, most of these loans have asset backing. उसको बेचेंगे तो प्रॉफिट ही बनेगा अगर 70% कवरेज वाला. तो वो ऐसे बिहेव करते हैं, बोलते हैं जैसे 12% हो गया. अरे 12% हो गया तो जो moratorium में हो, RBI has asked you to put additional provision. Should we not be talking about net NPAs if we have to talk about safety of a system and its ability to fund growth?
Fair point. Mr. Puri, we've covered a range of topics today. Personally, when I started my career, HDFC Bank as a brand had just taken birth, and it's just been one of the biggest privilege of my television career to cover HDFC Bank, talk about the wealth they have created, and talk about the leadership and the way how the brand itself has flourished. So I wish you all the best on behalf of everyone from ET Now. Thank you for creating magic. Thank you for creating shareholder value. And thank you for what looked like impossible 2 decades ago.
Thank you so much, Nikunj. I've always enjoyed talking with you. I enjoyed seeing your show. Stay safe. I think ये कोविड का भी हाथी निकल गया, पूछ रह गई, we'll be all right. So we've enjoyed. और आगे मुलाकात होगी, पिक्चर बाकी है.
I look forward to that, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Stay safe and all the best.
Take care. Thank you.